Today's video, we're going to talk about Google Merchant Center Product Studio, how this creates and uses AI to adjust your product images that are showing in your shopping ads so you get more out of your shopping campaign performance, more clicks, more conversions, on and on. If you've seen any of my other videos or subscribed to this channel already, you will already know I've talked about many times how the number one way to get more results out of your shopping campaigns is to optimize your images, because the image design and format you use will heavily impact its click-through rate you're going to get on your shopping ad, and as a result, massively increase the amount of productivity you can get out of a shopping campaign or PMAX campaign that you use to run shopping placements. So with that said, this is actually so true that Google's come out with their own system, Product Studio, to let us modify our image to make it more clickable so that we get more out of the shopping ads without having to put the actual work in, the intelligent thought, the effort, hiring people to do an edit to a image, to a product image in order to get those same results for ourselves. This video is going to explain why you specifically do not want to use Product Studio to do optimizations to your image. Because in short, it does not do as good a job as what an amateur might think that it does. And it goes right along with why other videos where I've talked about, I'm not a big fan of AI software for anything as it comes to marketing and advertising, because if there were an easy way to do advertising, everybody would do it and then there would be no edge to have. The result is in having the edge when everybody knows what it is that's out there to advertise. That is, everybody knows about Google Ads. Whether you make money or not is whether you do it better. As soon as one software comes along that works, everybody would start using it and then there would be no edge anymore. So you got to find your edge. The edge, generally speaking, is you watch this channel, you see what works, you put the work in to put it in place, you get your edge. It's really simple. Using software to get around it isn't the answer. And mainly because software, not that hypothetically the premise of it can't work, but it just does such a poor job at it, of what you can do manually. So I'll go into detail on what you can do, what Product Studio is doing, why you shouldn't use it, what your better alternatives are that are going to get you much more results. But before I do, if you do not know who I am Corey Zyman, owner of Guaranteed PPC, an online advertising agency that specializes in guaranteeing results for clients on their ad campaigns. Basically, we don't take management fees until we increase the results on our clients' campaigns, at least a minimum amount on the profitability side, and then of which offsets the management fees that we charge. And we're the only agency that does this, which tells you something about the quality of the information that you're receiving on today's video. So with that said, getting into what I was mentioning here. So split testing your product images on your Google Merchant Center account is a fantastic way to get more out of your shopping campaigns. That is, what you do is you create something called a supplemental product feed in Google Merchant Center. What that allows you to do is override the product data that you have in your Google Merchant Center account by default. So generally speaking, what people have with an e-commerce site is they have some sort of plugin or tool that automatically scrapes all the product data off their website, Shopify, BigCommerce, whatever they're using. And then they send it to Google Merchant Center. Google Merchant Center then sends that data to Google Ads, so then you can run your shopping campaigns. By default, the products in Google Merchant Center and the data that's there isn't going to be the way to get the most out of your most results out of shopping ads, because the default product image on your website that your feed plugin sent to Google Merchant Center isn't going to be the best one that works in shopping. So in other words, people, what they're doing, whether they think it or they're too lazy to do anything about it, they don't like to listen to my advice, they will take the image on their product page and they'll use that for their image for their shopping ad, when really that image on their site is not the most ideal ad for their shopping ad, or most ideal image for their shopping ad. It's not going to be the image that gets them the most click-through rate. More click-through rate means you get more impressions because Google's going to favor you and your account more. You're going to get more clicks, of course, higher click-through. You're going to get better quality clicks, because Google's going to decide to have, when you're in a competitive market and there's people cycling in and out of those shopping spots, they got to pick the person whose ad they're going to show when a really good prospect comes through that they know is highly statistically likely to buy. if you want it to be you have to get on Google's good side. And that means one of the things is an ad that gets high click-through rates. The other is good conversion rates so that users get a good experience. And that makes people want to come back to Google to click on ads in the future. So Google wants to promote the people who provide that for their users. So you have that. And then you also have multiple showings. That is, you get multiple products showing in the Google Shopping 8-pack so that you get even more clicks. All of this happens when you have high click-through rate on your shopping ads. And the number one thing that gets higher click-through rate on your shopping ads is an image that works well. Out of all the stuff you can tweak, that does it the most. The second is going to be the price, and the third is going to be the title on the ad, Merchant Center promotion, if you use one, which you should. I've talked about that in other videos already. But with that said, what you do once you understand, yes, I am going to optimize my product images, so I'm not just going to use the default one on our product pages for our shopping ads, because that's not going to get me near the results, because Corey said it wouldn't. I'm going to actually make a new image that's more ideal for shopping with the angle that I'm going to talk about here in a moment. And I'm going to use a supplemental product feed in my Google Merchant Center account that will then override the product data that's in my Google Merchant Center account already, so that the shopping image is an optimized image just for shopping, and without having to adjust my product image that's on my website that I do not want, what's ideal for shopping would look junky on the website. So I can have my image that works perfect for my website on my website, and I can have my image that's perfect for shopping on my shopping campaign. And the supplemental product feed allows you to not have to change your product feed plugin that scrapes the product data off your website and sends it to Google Merchant Center. You add it on top of that product feed plugin to just override the image that's in Google Merchant Center. What I do is I actually split test it. We'll actually pick a product with high conversion rates but low impressions, meaning Google basically is struggling to promote it more because it gets click-through rates. Also, of course, with the lower click-through rate to go along with it, lower than average. And then I will take that image, come up with a new one. I think it'll get a higher click-through rate, put it in my supplemental product feed, and then that'll override the image that's in Google Merchant Center now. I'll run it for 90 days, see if it gets a higher click-through rate. If it does, I will keep that new image in the supplemental product feed, and then I'll work on testing another image. And you just go down the line, one product by product, until you find the most ideal image for every product that you're promoting in your Google Shopping campaigns. The ideal way to do this optimization of your product images for your shopping campaigns is to use the supplemental product feed, like I mentioned. Then you use a photographer to take a real image that ultimately, sometimes a white background, let's say, is the best to get the highest click-through rate on a shopping ad for a product. Sometimes it's an active background, like, a grill that's sitting on a picnic table versus on a white background, which we call an active background. And so the first thing I always test, mostly when it comes to shopping image tests, I'm going to do the opposite of what we're already doing. So if we have a white background, we're going to do an active background. If we have an active background, I'm going to do a white background to see if I've got the right version. Then I'll do different active backgrounds. So let's say if that worked, and so forth. With that said, we'll take the grill, like I gave an example before, we'll put it on the picnic table, have a photographer take the picture, and then we'll test that image. If you use Product Studio to set the product on a picnic table, instead, you're going to end up not being disappointed by the results most of the time, which there's always a downside of testing something that doesn't work, because you're going to have unideal click-through rates for the time that you test it. And then just making any change in Google Ads causes volatility in the results. Even when you put the image back, you might have lower impressions for quite a while. So you really want to think through your changes. And because of that, you don't want to just willy-nilly half-ass this test. That is, use Product Studio to have AI come up with a test and actually manually think through the test, hire a professional to do it right and think through it all the way. And probably somebody who has experience testing hundreds of these images before, i.e. myself or someone like that. So Product Studio, the reason why I don't like it and you shouldn't use it is because it screws up the focus points of the active background if you're going to use that. So let's say you have a white background, you're going to do an active background. You're selling the grill. What Product Studio allows you to do is to type its text to image. So you say, put my grill on a picnic table, and then it'll and it'll do that for you. Then you get the image, and then you can use that image. With that said, okay, the image you get is not, it's going to be kind of blurry. You have to understand what gets a good click-through rate is a well thought out image in terms of contrast, in terms of angling, use of white space using with a 1/3, 2/3 rule on an image. With that said, you use a strategist to tell you what to do. Then you use a photographer to make the right photo that has the right lighting and everything. And then you use Photoshop to edit the image on top of it. And then you have something that's going to likely beat your current results. Product Studio, also, by the way, you could download and make an image with Product Studio, download it, and then put it into your supplemental product feed to do your test. Product Studio, the way that most people are using it is they're changing their image on their active primary product feed, which is going to screw up the machine learning involved in, if you had good results, it's going to screw it up versus putting it on a supplemental feed. Google is going to more easily be able to get back on course when you turn off the supplemental feed versus changing the active feed, and you don't want to do that when you do image testing. People using Product Studio, that's what they're basically doing, and I've tested this a lot. The images that it outputs are not very good at all. They don't look right. When somebody sees the product images on Google Shopping, they're trying to decide what to click on. Stuff that looks attractive, eye candy, if you will, that's going to be more so what they're going to click on. Or it's going to be more so having to do with clarity. Can I tell what I'm looking at, and is it what I need? So it's either being fancy and it's eye candy, or it's clarity. And different items, it will vary. Like if you're selling a replacement bolt for a vehicle, clarity is going to be more so what people care about. If you're selling a jacket, it's going to be eye candy. They're going to click on that. Nice model wearing the coat, whatever. And this is where I actually have somebody strategizing it that has ran many of these tests before instead of just randomly trying. You can get a lot of times double, if not triple, the click-through rate on a shopping ad, figuring out the right image to show using active background or a white background if you were not using one. Ultimately, there's a lot of stuff you can do. Just to give you some examples, where if it's a watch, instead of having it face on, have it turned at an angle. Instead of having the watch as is with no drop shadow, using a drop shadow, and so forth. I've got a video about how to test product images for shopping campaigns that's exclusive just to that. You can search for it on my channel homepage in the search bar. In general with that, you're not going to get doubling and tripling of your click-through rate for each item once you've went through all the testing things I mentioned on that video, unless you do it by hand. And if it were as easy as using Product Studio to just spit something out quickly, there wouldn't be an edge anyway, like I was talking about before. But the outputs really are crappy. They're crappy from the standpoint of, I know what gets click-through rate on shopping ads, and what it outputs, it's not. So you're just basically wasting your time. And I would also include other text-to-image AI image generators that are out there as well. You got to really think through and use professionals if you're going to do this, but it's worth it. Increasing your click-through rate on shopping 25% across the board will get you at least 50% more profit from shopping long term, because like I mentioned before, you're going to not only just get more click-through immediately, but more impressions, better quality clicks from people that are more likely to convert, because Google knows the statistical likelihood of somebody that will convert when they search, because they've seen everything that person's done for the last 20 years. And they're going to give the impression to the guy who they want to encourage to stay around, which is the top advertiser. And you get multiple showings. So you're going to have, instead of one product in the 8-pack for a search result, maybe 2 or 3. Sometimes, because we're so good at optimizing, we'll get 5 out of 8. And then you really are making money. Like I said, if you want somebody that knows what they're doing to test your images, this is one of the things we do all the time at the firm. Reach out to us at guaranteedppc.com. I'll have a personal conversation with you about the topic. I could also tell you 20 other things we can do along with it that'll also get you more results. And if you don't like working with ad agencies, at the very least, you should reach out, because maybe we've worked in your niche market before and we can tell you what results we got in your market with, the ads, the landing pages, the campaign templates, all of it that work for your market, and you can buy it from us outright. We got people who use these templates to start whole other businesses from scratch. Literally copy pasting those into their account. And because they're in a different geographic market than our client, they can use it, and it's turnkey. So if you're interested in that, you can also reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com. With that said, if you're using Product Studio to just simply take out, if you have an active background and you're trying to make it with a white background, I would not recommend it for that either. And by the way, if you are that person doing that specifically, you likely need a photographer anyway, because a photographer that was worth anything would probably have taken your product photo and used Photoshop to cut it out so it's on a white background for you anyway, or was able to set you up with that. If you literally think you need to cut it out using Product Studio, then you need a better photographer, I would say already. Maybe that's not the case, but probably. And for that matter, if you're using Product Studio to cut out the product so it is on a white background, the edges of the product, it's not going to cut it out perfectly. You need to do that in Photoshop to do that accurately. But the real thing is, I say you need a photographer because a real photographer would put it in a white box, a box where there's white on all the walls, or if it's a big product, a huge room that's got white on all the walls, so that you truly have a white background and there's going to be no issues with the edge of the product being blurry, if you will, for lack of better words of explaining it. And with that said, I mentioned how I have a video about image testing on shopping. Everybody loves shopping campaigns so much because they're so easy to get working. And for e-commerce markets, it's usually 60 to 70% of the sales volume you can get in a market. So with that said, if you like this, you try it out and you really get great results and you're like, damn, Corey, man, that guy was a genius. Go ahead and check out my other videos about shopping campaigns. Optimizing, like I said, the second most important thing to do is to optimize your pricing strategy. Doing something as simple as adding a 7 as the ending digit for your product price will increase your click-through rate substantially or significantly many times, or a 9. Sometimes a 9 will work better, but usually it's a 7, believe it or not. And I could go into why. Or you optimize your product titles and you add synonyms at the end of the product titles, and that will get you more impressions on items that are doing well. Because the thing everybody wants with shopping campaigns is, how do I get more impressions, Corey? I want more impressions. It's profitable. How do I get more clicks? This is how you do it. So subscribe to this channel. I've got tons of information on that, and I'm coming out with more all the time. The information you're getting on this channel is coming from somebody who spends 40 hours a week doing ad strategy on ad accounts all day long is my main job. And I just talk about it on the weekends, basically, what I find works. So you're getting information straight from the source when you get information on this channel. So you can't find better information that's going to help you become a millionaire running ads for your business. Furthermore, you should check out my blog while you're at it. My blog on my site is at guaranteedppc.com/blog. The blog has the actual step-by-step outlines of how to use the strategies I'm talking about, with screenshots, with everything you need to use them, that we use to guarantee results for our clients. If you like the channel, you should definitely go ahead and check that out as well at some point. So with that said, I pretty much spelled out this Product Studio, what it's about, using AI to create product images, which is a dumb idea. At best, you may get a tiny improvement if your images that you have now are terrible, but for what you can stand to gain doing it the right way, literally doubling or tripling your click-through rate, it makes no sense not to pay professionals to do this. So you get those full results. And for that matter, people get intimidated doing the stuff I talk about on this channel, but you can legitimately do it for one image, one product. Make your doubling of click-through rate for that one item, and then use the money that you're making to do the second and then the third. What stops people is they say, I can't do this for 500 items, so I'm just not doing it at all. And that's, a dumb approach basically, because you can do 10, you can do 5. And then with that said, if you're not sure if you should do it or something else, I've been doing and offering coaching calls to the subscribers to this channel. With those coaching calls, I've been going over all the client's business in general, the website, the pricing strategy, and I tell them within that 30-minute coaching call what they're stuck on that's causing them to not get their ads to grow anymore or scale anymore, or the business to scale anymore. And I'm able to do that because I've done this with hundreds of companies now, just through the course of working with clients at our firm. And about 6 months ago, I started doing these coaching calls, and every single person who's gotten a coaching call came back for another coaching call that I've had so far, because the information was so valuable in that 30-minute time period that they just wanted to come back the next time they hit a bottleneck or restriction in what they were doing. If you're interested in that, you can also reach out to me at my firm at guaranteedppc.com. But with that said, I'll wrap everything up with that. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one.
Remember when I said shopping campaigns was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how to do it.